You know Gray Bar for electrical parts, but there's one more thing you may not be thinking of us for that can help maximize your next project's total value. Our pre-project planning services are designed to help you win the bid, save on labor costs, and keep your installers productive across your entire build. The sooner you call us, the better. Because when we're there from the beginning, we can anticipate your needs and help you solve problems before they become problems. Yep, Gray Bar does that.
It's winter meetings time on the baseball calendar. This is like take 3 of trying to get this episode started. Welcome into the Show Before the Show podcast from MILB.com. It is episode number 188, and we are in full-on winter meetings mode, which means for me, not really anything. But for Sam Dykstra in Las Vegas, in the belly of the beast, it's winter meetings time. How are things in Vegas, Sam? Have you seen a clock recently?
I'm staring at one of my laptops
anywhere. Oh,
yeah,
well,
but otherwise I would be completely lost. We could have been doing this at 1 o'clock in the morning, and it would be very like people always say that, and I was like, oh, that's not true. There's no way. It's like, no, it's very easy to just get lost and stay indoors the entire time. And you'll hear us talk to Ben about this later about where we're staying. We're staying in the Delano Hotel, which is connected to the Mandalay Bay, which is connected to the Luxor. And you can go from one end to the other and walk like a mile and a half, never go outside, never see a clock, never see a window even, have any clue if it's sunny outside. We were talking last night at dinner, and Marina's, friend of the show and our coworker, pointed out that there's a reason why Las Vegas has such garish rugs. Have you ever thought about this, Tyler?
Rugs? Garish rugs?
Rugs. Like the carpets.
I would imagine it's just
the carpets in the casinos.
You into wasting more money. That's what I think everything in Vegas is geared toward.
Right. So basically the idea is the rugs just look not great. They've got all sorts of patterns on them, but they're not pleasant to the eye. Because the idea is they don't want you looking down. They want you looking up at all the machines and all the glowing lights and all the tables and all that kind of stuff. Which, really threw my mind for a loop.
I guess that makes sense.
Yeah, and I had never been here before, so I had no idea what to expect other than, hoping I could live out my Ocean's 11 dream without committing any crimes. I'm winking, but you can't see that because we're in audio.
Sam Dykstra wants to commit a heist, is what he just admitted on this podcast. Sam Dykstra admitting he wants to commit felony.
A heist. Yeah, we went to the Bellagio last night, and I kept saying to everybody there, like, we have to do the ending to Ocean's 11. We have to all sit around the fountain and, like, one by one peel off as like classical music plays, and it'd be so much fun. And everybody looked at me like, no, we can't. We're not going to do that. It was the closest I would ever get to be George Clooney, which is really my biggest goal in life.
Yeah. I'm getting gray hair. That's about as close as I'm ever going to get to being George Clooney. So with that, we welcome you into this week's episode of the Show Before the Show podcast from MILB.com. Thanks for tuning in and joining us wherever you found the show. Give us a rating and a review and a subscription if you would like to on Apple Podcasts and Google Play and everywhere else you get your shows. And you can find past episodes and everything else in addition to those places at MILB.com/podcast. You can get in touch with the show, podcast at MILB.com. Our spam email has gone through the roof over the last couple of weeks at podcast at MILB.com. So send us some real email, and then we'll get very excited about getting that and not offers to buy, like bleachers or roofing. So let's get started. The winter meetings are here, and the winter meetings, as we discussed last week, are technically a minor league baseball event. But obviously, the focus of the winter meetings is Major League Baseball transactions and what it means for the 2019 season or the next season at any given winter meetings. So far, there hasn't been a lot to speak of at the winter meetings in 2018. There wasn't a lot to speak of in 2017. There wasn't a lot to speak of over the offseason at all in 2017 to 2018. And so far, with this winter meetings situation being as quiet as it is, what do you think that means right now, Sam?
Yeah, I was trying to think about like what's going on with the winter meetings. Do we have to think about them in different ways going forward? Let's just start at the base level. What the winter meetings are. They are a chance for the entire baseball community to get together. Writers, baseball execs, player development, everybody in the front office. It's technically a minor league event, so every minor league front office is here, pretty much their entire front office too. Major league side, not necessarily. It might be some execs on the baseball ops side, some player development folks, something like that. But minor league teams, everybody is here. So the idea has always been like, this is where trades will happen. This is where signings will happen because everybody's close. You don't have to call up somebody and say like, we'll negotiate here. And then, you got to make another call and negotiate there. Like, you just walk to each other. It's so much easier. And that was always the running thing for a while. I mean, even as recent as 2 years ago, when Chris Sale got traded from the White Sox to the Red Sox for Yohan Moncada and Michael Kopech. That was the big deal of the winter meetings, and that's what we thought we were getting into, a time for big trades. And as we're recording this now, 3 o'clock Pacific time, 6 o'clock Eastern on Wednesday, the big trades have not gone down. The biggest acquisition might be Andrew McCutchen going to the Phillies, which is a pretty solid signing. And, if we were a Major League Baseball podcast, we could get into that a little bit more. But Charlie Morton today signed with the Rays. Maybe that's a big deal. Does it look like Bryce Harper is going to sign while we're here? Not really. Does it look like Manny Machado is going to sign while we're here? Not really. There's been the constant rumors about JT Realmuto. Is he going to go somewhere? There were some rumors about Corey Kluber going to the Dodgers. Those continue to percolate, but aren't particularly close. We have to maybe stop thinking about the winter meetings as a time of this is where the deal is going to happen. This is where it's going to become official, and more of a chance of, hey, this is where everybody's going to touch base. Yeah, they are close. It's going to be a little easier to make some of these swaps, some of these free agent signings. But given the recent track record, I mean, you mentioned last year, think about the biggest trades of last offseason. Giancarlo Stanton, the trade happened before the winter meetings. He was introduced at the winter meetings, but the trade happened before. Marcell Ozuna happened at the very, very end. Christian Yelich happened later. I think that it was in January. So, the time we thought would be the biggest deals going down, which would have been in December, isn't quite the norm anymore. I wonder if a lot of that has to do with just how easy it is to communicate now. It's so much easier to send, text trade proposals, and teams have talked about doing that, that proximity isn't as big a deal anymore. Yes, you can talk a little bit more face to face over a beer or something like that. But if that's just touching base and then you continue those conversations later, that's fine too. I don't think teams are pushing. There's no trade deadline in the offseason. There is no exact date that you need to get these deals done, even if we all here feel either on the fan side or even on the media side that these deals should be done before Thursday. It doesn't matter if they're not. Christian Yelich deal showed us that last year. You might see a bunch of proposals. It's a great time for rumors. Also, if you're me, it's a very frustrating time for rumors because I feel like people throw around what could be happening and get frustrated or have hot takes on deals that never actually happen. It's turning more into this is just a chance for those rumors to percolate. Maybe we'll be wrong. And if we have to do an addendum to this podcast because JT Realmuto got traded to the Cincinnati Reds for Taylor Trammell, we'll absolutely do that, and that'll be exciting. And that's the big deal we kind of want to see here, something along those lines. But if it's not going to happen by the time things close up after the Rule 5 draft tomorrow, it might be time next year. I think the winter meetings are in San Diego. We might have to rethink about what this event really is, at least from a transaction standpoint.
We're in a weird stretch in baseball, it seems like, offseason wise. And Sam noted, we're recording this on Wednesday, Rule 5 draft is tomorrow. So some guys will be changing organizations. And Sam had a Toolshed preview of who the biggest names on the move could be. Give us a look at the Rule 5 draft in 2018.
Yeah, so we've kind of touched on this in the past a little bit about what the Rule 5 draft is. This is more just players who could go. Hopefully we can get this podcast up before the Rule 5 draft tomorrow. But some of these guys I really do feel strongly will be taken this year, one of which is Richie Martin, the shortstop with the Oakland A's. He was a first-round pick. He was the 20th overall pick in 2015. Really struggled with the bat his first couple of years, but then took off this year at Double-A Midland, hit 300, had career highs with 6 homers, 25 stolen bases in 118 games. Is that great in terms of overall offense production? Not fantastic, but it's Double-A. It's a tough place to hit. hitting 300, stealing 25 bags. That's pretty good. And he provides really, really good defense at shortstop. The A's have also allowed him some time at second base. I think they've let him see third base. I don't know if he's played there yet in a game, but he's got the speed, he's got the range, he's got the arm to be really, really good at short. And in today's game, we obviously value defense in ways that maybe we weren't doing 15 years ago. So if a team has an opening at shortstop, Richie Martin would make a ton of sense. The Baltimore Orioles actually have the first overall pick in this year's Rule 5 draft. The Orioles, every year since I think 2006, they've made at least one Rule 5 pick. Sometimes they traded it away. Sometimes they traded for a Rule 5 pick. But the O's are constantly, in the mix here. Yes, they changed regimes. They've got a new GM in Mike Elias. But it's a team that's obviously struggling. It's got 40-man roster space to burn. They got Jonathan Villar last year. He could play second base. They have an opening at shortstop. Why not let it be Richie Martin, see how that kind of works? So that would be a lot of fun if you were to go there. Some of the other names, I'm not going to say exactly where these go. And Richie Martin, might not go to the Orioles, but I feel like he did enough with the bat this year to improve, and with the glove to certainly be a Rule 5 option after he was left unprotected by Oakland. One of the other guys I'm looking at constantly has come up in a bunch of other Rule 5 previews I've seen as well, as Riley Farrell, a right-handed pitcher with the Houston Astros. When unprotected, a lot of that has to do with control issues, but he can really rear back and throw it. His fastball sits in the mid-90s. His slider can be really wicked. Those are two offerings that are just going to get lots of swing and miss even out of the bullpen. He struck out 67 batters in 51 2/3 innings this year between AA and AAA. He did walk 34 batters in 51 2/3 innings. So, and he put up a 6.75 ERA at AAA. Not great. Part of the reason why Houston didn't protect him. That said, everybody loves velocity nowadays. And if you can pair that with a good slider, there's a real bullpen piece there. Wouldn't be surprised if somebody picks him up. Hopefully they can correct some of the control issues, but even if not, I think that ERA would certainly come down even in the major leagues coming out of the PCL. So I would expect him to at least get some sniffs tomorrow on Thursday, kind of along those same lines. Junior Fernandez, right-handed pitcher of the St. Louis Cardinals. If you really like velocity, Fernandez is your guy. He can hit the upper 90s pretty regularly. MLB.com gave him a 70 on the 2080 scouting scale for his fastball. The Cardinals finally moved him to the bullpen last year. Didn't go great, but he was dealing with some arm issues, some shoulder issues. So only through 30 2/3 innings, striking out 24 and walking 18. So the K numbers quite aren't there, but from a pure stuff standpoint, he could probably pitch in the majors right now, blow it past some guys. And we saw, even the Cardinals in moving up Jordan Hicks like they did last year, putting a premium on velocity. Fernandez isn't quite there. He's a couple ticks back, but so is everybody else who throws in the upper 90s. Wouldn't be surprised if that gets him taken, because Rule 5 picks really are based on scouting reports. They're based on what have you seen? Can we plug this guy into a major league roster right now? Because that's what you need to do in order to keep these guys going forward. You need to keep them on the major league roster for the entire season. So, from a pure stuff standpoint, Fernandez can make that happen, especially for a team that, is looking at their bullpen. It could probably hide a guy like him, pitch him in non-high, low leverage situations, and allow them to get the best out of that velocity in other situations. So if you're looking at some of the bigger names there, Junior Fernandez, Riley Farrell, and Richie Martin are three of the big ones I would watch right now. But Max Schrock, who had kind of a down year last year, as a really good hitting second baseman. I think some teams could just realize that his BABIP numbers were really down and take a chance on his bat. Maybe he'll go Josh Ockamy, the Boston Red Sox, a first baseman, stuck at first base, could work for an AL club looking for a first baseman / DH or some power from the left side. So again, we'll try to get this up before the Rule 5 draft tomorrow, but if one of your teams took those players, those are kind of what they're bringing to the table here.
And before we get into strike three, just Sam's in a hotel again, so if it's clippy hotel internet and the audio is a bit clippy, now you have your explanation why, and you can blame people who designed internet hotel connections. Strike through those. We'll wrap it up with a story that you had from the winter meetings this week. It was a really cool one. Charlie Montoyo, friend of the site, a guy who was with the Tampa Bay Rays organization as a minor league manager from 1997 through 2014, spent time with AAA Durham, won the Governor's Cup in 2009 and 2013. Now, moving on up to the major leagues where he is going to be the Toronto Blue Jays manager, and a lot of talent is on the way to join him there. You got a chance to talk to him about what it's going to be like managing some of the top prospects in baseball when they get to the big leagues.
Yeah, Charlie Montoyo, he had his managerial availability, all 29 managers. The Orioles don't currently have a manager. All 29 managers currently employed get to spend about 30 minutes with the media. And this was Charlie Montoyo's first ever time doing that, at least at the winter meetings, as a major league manager. Being a guy who's certainly put in his time. The lead I had on this, somebody asked him, do you feel like a rookie manager? This is your first major league job or first major league managing job. He spent time on the major league side with the Tampa Bay Rays last 3 years. But do you feel like a rookie manager, or given all the managerial experience you have, does that not count for you? And he just said, even when I got the job to coach third base after spending 18 years as a minor league manager, somebody said, "Are you ready to do that?" And he said back, "Well, I've been practicing for 18 years." So it's kind of the same feeling. I will forever champion minor league managers getting their chance. And his staff is really interesting from that point of view as well. Shelley Duncan, former minor league manager just this year, is the field coordinator, first base coach Mark Brzezinski, who was a minor league manager with the Indians. He's part of that team. Just major league coach, which is kind of an interesting title, is John Schneider, who was the AA New Hampshire manager last year. So Charlie's really built a staff around him that knows what it's like to come up through a system and knows what it's like to travel on buses and to put in the work over a long time. And that's perfectly suited to where the Blue Jays are going right now. Montoyo himself is almost created in a lab to manage Vladimir Guerrero Jr. He played with Vladimir Guerrero Sr. Back at AA Harrisburg in the 1990s. I did a story on that last year. He speaks Spanish. He's a native Puerto Rican. He even talked about in that story that you mentioned, Tyler, how much easier it's going to be on Vlad Jr. just to have somebody that he can talk in Spanish with and, just communicate how he's feeling, what he's going through, instead of, feeling like he's out on an island trying to deal with these issues himself. So that's a big help. And, again, just being a guy who's got so much minor league experience, when you're bringing up Vladimir Guerrero Jr., when you're bringing up potentially Bo Bichette, especially with the news that this week that the Jays have cut or straight up released Troy Tulowitzki, there's going to be some competition at shortstop now. Bo Bichette moves up in the pecking order there. Those are two of the best hitters in the minor leagues right now. They're on their way to Toronto. Add in, Danny Jansen's probably going to be the starting catcher next year. Sean Reed Foley's in the major league rotation. Anthony Alford competing for an outfield spot. These are all young prospects who need to be managed by a guy who's been around young prospects for the last 2 decades, basically. So Montoyo, he knows what's in front of him. He's really excited about it. I ended the story with this quote he had about how he feels like even before he got the job with Toronto, they're kind of setting themselves up to be what Boston was 5 years ago. Boston used to be a team that they won the division, finished last in the division, won the division, finished last in the division. But they had this strong core coming up: Mookie Betts, Jackie Bradley Jr., Xander Bogaerts. Devers has followed, Andrew Benintendi has followed, going on and on down the list. He feels like they're setting themselves up really well to do something similar there in Toronto. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. would be their Mookie Betts, essentially, and plugging him in and allowing Montoyo to coach these guys in the way he's done so successfully at AAA Durham and other places in the Tampa Bay system is really cool, really exciting. And, hopefully he can kind of become the poster boy along with Mike Schultz in St. Louis for what minor league managers can do when they are given major league chances.
So that'll do it for Three Strikes on this week's episode of The Show Before the Show. And coming up, we're going to stick in Las Vegas with another visitor to the, we'll call this the Show Before the Show set We're not like MLB Network, but we'll say that where Sam's recording is our set. Benjamin Hill joins us, who will swing by to give his takes on what's always a busy week for Ben, and then Ben will take us through our interview segment. So Benjamin Hill coming up next. Well, the winter meetings, as we have discussed for the first few years of this podcast, are one of the sites where it is Benjamin Hill's time to shine. And we welcome in one of the stars of the winter meetings in our very own Ben's Biz. Hello, Ben.
Hello, Tyler, and hello, Sam. Sitting to my left in Sam's room here at the Mandalay Bay. It is
at the Delano.
Oh, sorry, yeah, the Delano.
We don't technically stay at the Mandalay Bay.
Right. The Delano is connected to the Mandalay Bay. We are in the Delano. Sam's room is laid out very similar to mine, although there are 24 floors between us.
Are you in the Mandalay Bay?
We are in the Delano. The event is at the Mandalay Bay.
Same hotel.
Oh, you're both in. Okay, I thought maybe Ben got in Mandalay Bay and Sam, you got kicked over to the Delano.
No.
Okay.
And the Delano is very nice. Every room in the Delano is a suite, which I don't think any of us are used to. Yeah, so we have a main room with a couch and a desk and the living area, and then you have the bedroom behind that. Sam's art above his couch is a man and a woman embracing in a pool, but their heads are above water and you can't see it. I have the same art, but the man and the woman are kissing, but they're in the water. They're underneath the water.
Do you think it just like incrementally by floor?
Yeah,
they slowly go lower and lower.
They just go lower and lower. Yeah, if you go to the top floor, it's just like the top of someone's head as they sink into oblivion.
There you go.
How do you spell Delano?
Delano.
So why
it's like Franklin Delano Roosevelt.
Yeah, why isn't it Delano?
That's a very good question, and my cabbie on the way here did not have an answer.
Yeah, my cabbie on the way here told me this place used to be called The Hotel.
That was it?
That would be so much more fun.
Yeah, and English wasn't his first language, so he was like, what do they mean by the? It's THE, but it's not The Hotel, and I tried to explain the best I could.
Like, yeah, it's the world's weirdest language, and we apologize for how confusing it probably is when you're not a native speaker. The Hotel, I feel like when you land in Vegas and you say, take me to The Hotel, that would be like the most confusing place on earth to give out that decree. But I guess if that was the only name for that hotel, it's a way to make a name for yourself. So you guys are hanging out in the Delano, and we sort of joke out of the start, but not really. I mean, this is an event where Ben, you really kind of are one of the guys that we talked about this over the last couple of years. People see you and they're like, oh my God, that's Ben's Biz, and you get to mingle with people that you have run into or seen at ballparks, or people who haven't met you, people who know of you from the site. What has this year's edition been like? Vegas kind of adds its own element beyond holding this in Orlando or holding it, wherever. What has this year's edition been like for you?
Yeah, I mean, this is my 12th winter meeting somehow. The second I've ever been to in Vegas. The first of those was in 2008 with different host hotels, but 2008 didn't go too well for me personally, but also the minor and major league hotels were on opposite sides of the strip, so it was logistically very onerous. But here, everything is in the we're in the attached Delano Hotel, but everything is taking place in the Mandalay Bay. So it is a good host site in that regard in terms of everything being under the same massive, massive roof.
Yeah. We go days without seeing sunlight.
Yeah, I got here on Sunday fairly early in the afternoon, and it wasn't until last night when we went out for a company dinner that I went outside, and it was, that was 40 some hours later, like almost 2 whole days. And that's still the only time I've been outside is when we went out last night. And I was like, Sam can attest to this, I was a little edgy last night.
Yeah, a little bit.
I was tweaking a little bit.
We need to get Ben more oxygen, I think is the way these things work.
Yeah. I was confrontational. We can get into that on the paid section of the podcast. But yes, Tyler, like you mentioned, I don't want to come across as arrogant, but I will. Doing this long and covering the industry, you get to know a lot of people, and no event like the winter meetings are they all likely to be in one place. So it is a very surreal event for me in that, everywhere I walk, people like Ben, and not like clamoring, chasing after me, but just introducing themselves or reintroducing themselves.
You're like the Beatles at Shea Stadium, basically.
Yeah, it is exactly it. Or just launching into a conversation while I strain for like 30 seconds to remember who they are, and not because like, oh, you're so important, you don't even remember people, but when there's 160 teams and all these people who work for different teams and job seekers, a lot of conversations you've had in the past, it's hard to immediately orient oriented again. So it's nice to be recognized and to get attention, very different from my, day-to-day life, which is fine. I'm not complaining. But it stresses me out in its own way because I always feel like I want to remember people's names. I want to have good conversations. I want to make a good impression. And so like there's nowhere you can go except the hotel room to feel like kind of safe. So it's stressful in that way, always being on. And I think it's like that for a lot of people, really. I mean, I know more people just by a function of my role. But, if you work in baseball in any capacity, you're going to know a lot of people and they're all just sort of there. It becomes this, this is your life sort of thing at the winter meetings. So while Mandalay Bay has been a good host site in terms of being able to accommodate everything, you don't see everyone congregate in the same places the way it is at other winter meetings, where you just go down to the bar and essentially everyone's going to be at these massive, lobby bars or whatnot. In Vegas, people kind of just end up dispersing all over the place. So it's been a little less social in that regard, which is one of the reasons I'm looking forward to the gala tonight, the minor league baseball gala, because it'll be one of the few times this winter meeting's really the only one in a social context where everyone's really genuinely together, which has been harder to come by this year just because nighttime in Vegas, there isn't just that one spot everyone goes like it is at most winter meetings. And there has to be a piano bar here. So the minor league baseball industry, as I said before, loves piano bars. So I assume after the gala, there's just going to be this, almost everyone just going to absorb the information.
Hive mind.
Yeah, hive mind, that they're just all going to go to a piano bar. And I've said it before and I've said it again, but if you ever want to meet people from minor league baseball at an industry event, find the piano bar, and we'll see if that holds true tonight.
And as you've kind of been walking around beyond just the social aspects of this, obviously, whether it's going to the trade show, whether it's the conversations you have had with people, is there any kind of theme that's kind of come up this year so far in, getting everybody together and having these conversations? Yeah,
I don't think a specific theme to the winter meetings outside of the same themes that are there every year. So on one hand, I always look forward to the winter meetings to see everyone and just experience it. It's always a fun and albeit stressful thing. But in a lot of ways, it's like the same themes. And for me, the same, basic things to cover. So just trying to find ways to do it, new ways. There is, of course, the job fair. And on Monday, I interviewed some returning job seekers and put together a little video on them, kind of sharing their experiences. Yesterday, did a Facebook Live video from the trade show and tried to give a glimpse into what that experience is like. So you can check that out on the MILB Facebook page. Please get past the alignment issues in the first 90 seconds of the video. It straightens itself out, and I think it could be a rollicking good time to watch it. Yeah. On Monday there's the opening session with Pat O'Connor and minor league baseball president. The opening session is kind of this minor league State of the Union. All sorts of seminars. After that, I ended up talking to John Traub, the general manager of the Albuquerque Isotopes, because his team won the inaugural Copa de la Diversion, Copa de la Diversión. The Fun Cup, which is, of course, there were 33 teams that assumed Spanish language identities this year, and the Mariachis of Albuquerque were voted the best overall identity based on a number of factors. So I wrote a story about that. You can find that on MILB.com. So it's kind of cool to see, that whole initiative get its exclamation point and kind of wrapped up for 2018 here at the meetings about, what was the best identity and why. And as we go into next year, it was 33 teams this year. It's going to be 79 next year. So that's only going to get bigger, and there's only going to be more competition to win the Fun Cup, the Copa de la Diversión.
That's correct.
Thank you. So did that Monday night. This is kind of unique. You don't associate movie screenings with the winter meetings, but 50 Summers, a documentary about the Omaha Storm Chasers, had a winter meeting screening on Monday night at a ballroom, and I'm currently working on a story about that to run tomorrow. That documentary is about the Omaha Royals / Storm Chasers. The 50 Summers in the title is a reference to the 50 years that the team has operated in Omaha, 69 through 2018, 50 seasons. So that was an interesting documentary to watch, very minor league baseball specific. Obviously it's specific to Omaha, but the story of Omaha in many ways tells the story of minor league baseball over the past 50 years. So, stay tuned for an article about that. By the time you hear this podcast, that'll be up on the site. Between the mariachis and 50 summers and the trade show and everything else I talked about that I'm already forgetting right now. Elsewhere in this podcast, we have an interview with I interviewed Ernell Lucas, the outgoing minor league baseball's director of security, among other things, who is now going to be the sheriff of Milwaukee. And I find him to be a really interesting guy, both what he's done in minor league baseball and what he's going into. He's actually inheriting the role that a very controversial figure, Sheriff David Clark had before him, who you may or may not know from Twitter and and other aspects. So it's
yelling.
A really interesting story. This guy, Ernell Lucas, his baseball background, his law enforcement background, how the two intertwine, and what he's going on to next. So it was good to talk to him, and so on and so forth. It's just been that typical whirlwind, and we're in the waning stages right now. And as much as I enjoy the winter meetings, there's always a large sense of relief when it's over. Just kind of like, whoo, like, wow, got through it. Take a breath. And for me, I'm actually going on vacation on the back end of the winter meetings, flying west from here instead of east back home. And so this will be, I believe, my final appearance on the podcast in 2018, and I won't have any more material in 2018 on the website or blog or anywhere else. So let this function as a goodbye to all of you.
And before we let you go here, Ben, we are in Las Vegas. We did not talk about this last week because news broke. We knew it was coming. We kind of prefaced it and previewed it a little bit, but now it's officially here. On Saturday, before the winter meetings began, Las Vegas, the PCL team there, officially announced its new identity for the 2019 season. They're going from the Las Vegas 51s to the Las Vegas Aviators, mixing in some blue and orange and yellow looks here. What can you kind of tell us from the story you wrote for last Saturday? Yeah,
I mean, we're talking, on and on about here being in Vegas and the winter meetings, and the winter meetings started on Sunday, and Saturday, the day before the winter meetings, the Las Vegas 51s announced their rebranding as the Aviators. That is in conjunction with, of course, the team moving to a new stadium. They've been at Cashman Field for over 30 years, and now they're going to be in new Las Vegas ballpark, which is actually not in Las Vegas. It is in Summerlin, a adjacent master plan community that it was built and still continues to be built and grow on land that was initially bought by Howard Hughes. The team is owned by the Howard Hughes Corporation, as is Summerlin, the town in which they're going to be played, this master plan community. And so the Aviators' identity ties in to the very, very strong role that the Howard Hughes Corporation has over the, in their role of owning the team and in owning Summerlin. So the Aviators' name is a reference to Howard Hughes and his role in the aviation industry. He was known as a very daring pilot. He would test his own planes. He had some pretty spectacular crashes. So really made a name for himself in aviation as well as a variety of other fields, starting in the movie business and real estate and so many other things. Howard Hughes is a very interesting guy. And even in researching this story a little bit, I went down many rabbit holes about learning about Howard Hughes' life, and a lot of them I couldn't fit into the story, obviously. But the Aviators' name is a reference to Howard Hughes, and this team is run by the Howard Hughes Corporation. So it's really as simple as that, just how intertwined Howard Hughes is in anything. And the logos themselves were designed internally by the Howard Hughes Corporation at their New York City-based design firm called The Studio. So everything is intertwined in the Howard Hughes realm, which is why these logos are pretty much complete anomalies. When you look at the other rebrandings this year, we had the three grandiose identities, as well as the Fayetteville Woodpeckers. All of them, Vibes, Sod Poodles, Trash Pandas, Woodpeckers, all to some extent or another could be seen as part of the new wave of minor league team identities. And the Aviators is more conservative, and visually it is more conservative, except for the color scheme.
The color scheme definitely pops. I'll say that much. Yeah,
these Aviators. This resolute, quote, heroic aviator with his big aviator glasses on. Reflected in his aviator glasses is the logo of Summerlin, Nevada, which is the nearby mountain range that's part of the Red Rock Canyon Preservation Area. So again, everything is connected. Everything is intertwined.
It's too bad that the studio was not headquartered in the hotel. The hotel. Sorry.
Look at that.
Look at that. That's an excellent callback, Tyler.
I like to wrap things up, bring it all back full circle. Benjamin Hills on Twitter. He is at Ben's Biz. You can find all the content for the winter meetings at the site, milb.com, and as well as updates. Just go back and check out Ben's feed from the winter meetings because it's a good trip through what's going on in Vegas and the job fair and all the other stuff that's going on winter meetings wise. And Ben, enjoy the rest of the time and enjoy vacation.
Hey, thank you very much. I'll miss you guys, but 2019 will be here as soon as we know it. And it's been interesting doing this segment here in Sam's hotel room. And to honor Sam's wishes, they did not clean his hotel room.
Oh yeah, thank you. Yeah. They left a note on my door because I pressed the do not disturb button because I don't need people making my sheets every day. And Ben has gotten a kick out of that ever since he came in.
To honor his wishes, they have postponed servicing his guest room as his privacy light was eliminated.
Yeah.
You're a recluse like Howard Hughes.
I know.
You're the Howard Hughes of the Delano.
Yes.
Thanks, Ben.
Thanks, guys.
And coming up, as Ben noted a moment ago, he got a chance to sit down with Ernell Lucas, who is a security official for Major League Baseball, as well as a 25-year veteran of the Milwaukee Police Department, and is now the new sheriff-elect for Milwaukee County, but a guy who's worked in baseball for a long time, and had a lengthy conversation with Ben, a really unique interview on the show, and it's coming up right now.
I'm here with Ernell Lucas, who is leaving baseball after nearly 2 decades within the world of professional baseball, currently holding the dual title of Director of Security and Facility Operations for minor league baseball, as well as the Chief Liaison of Security and Investigations for the NAPBL, that's the National Association of Professional Baseball Leagues. Mm-hmm. That is a mouthful. But so, Ernell, you've seen a lot in this game, and I want to get into that. But let's start at the beginning. What was your experience that led you into the world of professional baseball? That translated to baseball and working within the security realm. What is your background?
Well, I'm a retired law enforcement executive. I spent 25 years in the Milwaukee Police Department, and two-thirds through my career, got an offer from Major League Baseball to be the consultant for Major League Baseball in Milwaukee to the Brewers. And it's a position called a resident security agent. What that individual does is assist Major League Baseball in any issues affecting that local club. And I held that position for 3 years, and got to travel around baseball, all-star games, international travel, things of that nature. And was holding that down while still employed at the police department until the attacks of 9/11. When the attacks of 9/11 occurred, Major League Baseball created a position became the first supervisor of executive protection for then Commissioner of Baseball Bud Selig, who then, as you well know, for the 22 years that he oversaw the league, he ran it from his office in Milwaukee. And I was chosen from a nationwide recruitment, had the ability to retire from the police department, and stepped into this wonderful position in baseball in January of 2002.
And from there, that led to working in minor league baseball, where you've been for quite a while. How did you get involved with minor league baseball specifically? Well,
after 6 years of working directly for and with Mr. Selig, I was promoted up to the New York office, overseeing the security facility operations at Major League Baseball, and I was responsible for setting the policies and best practices that all of the major league clubs follow. And after living in New York for almost 5 years, my wife and I, a little bit tired of the little small apartments, no vehicle, missing family. And I actually went to Mr. Selig and asked if I could, consider, another option or another possibility in baseball. And again, he was very gracious in allowing me to do that. And my wife and I relocated back to Milwaukee. And somewhere about 6 months into, this is now 2012, I'm sorry, I was asked if I would oversee the minor league security operations. And Pat O'Connor asked, and I have a great relationship and great respect for Pat. And so I jumped at the opportunity, and I've been doing this for the past 6+ years now, and ensuring that 160 clubs at the minor league level are employing the best practices at their ballpark. So it's been really, truly a wonderful experience.
And what I think is interesting about this job is that you're probably dealing with things that the average fan doesn't really think about, but at the same time is very important. So doing this and yes, establishing best practices for 160 teams, what does that entail on a day-to-day basis?
Mm-hmm. Well, I consult with law enforcement and governmental bodies all across the country and all across the world, for that matter, in terms of what's best practices do they employ for their respective venues, arenas and ballparks and the like, and then try to share that information with the clubs here at minor league baseball. And again, no matter whether you're single A or triple A club, all of us must do everything we can to ensure that we're providing a safe environment for those 40 million fans that walk through the entrance of a minor league ballpark. So, again, whether it's me sharing information with them, whether it's making a connection with the local law enforcement or other law enforcement agencies in the area, or if it's paying a visit and doing an assessment and making recommendations, whatever it took in order for us to work together and partner together to ensure the integrity of the sport.
And as you leave the position, what do you think are some of the biggest issues facing minor league baseball, from your perspective, in terms of the work you do?
Well, as we just saw the news yesterday, another attack in France, I believe it was. The bad guy only has to be right once, Ben, whereas in baseball and all the professional sports leagues or any event manager, you got to be right 99 plus 1. And it's a difficult challenge. But listen, I believe that we have some of the most outstanding professionals in baseball, everyone working together to secure our nation's pastime. And certainly, I'm confident leaving the game that there are so many people have been touched by the work that I've done and will continue the work that I've done and help ensure the integrity of baseball at both the major and the minor league level.
Yeah. And you talk about establishing best practices, and this leads to the challenge of minor league baseball, no matter what you're working in, is that there's teams in, say, the Appalachian League and, Bluefield, Virginia, and then you're dealing with AAA cities like here in Las Vegas or Indianapolis or Memphis. How do you apply? It's such a case-by-case basis for what might work for these teams. I mean, how do you establish plans that works for the team in question?
At the end of the day, the one common element, Ben, is the human element. And when you go back and look at the Paris attack from about 3 years ago now, what averted that being a much more horrific attack was a very alert, a very astute security guard at the soccer stadium in Paris there, who thought that the individual looked a little amiss, and he moved him out of the screening line and was conducting a secondary screening. And it was there that the individual detonated himself. Had that individual entered into the soccer stadium, detonated himself, and then subsequent attackers were outside the stadium waiting for throngs of people to rush out, the result from that would have been catastrophic, and what we do in the world of security would have been changed once again forever. As long as we can inspire and motivate the people who work in the game, at our ballparks, in our arenas, and at our venues, to stay alert, be vigilant, look for things that are amiss, look for people that are acting suspicious. That's the one common thing that we can employ. Technologies are available. Obviously, there's costs associated with that. But most importantly, we've got to hire the best people. We've got to train the best people. We've got to communicate on a daily basis. with our people. And then the practices that we do have in place, those that we do have in place, we can't let evacuation drills and other things be a folder that sits on a shelf. We've got to exercise those plans so that we ensure that everyone knows what it is that they're responsible for, and that everyone knows what his or her duties are in the event of any type of event.
And through doing this work, you've had to travel quite a bit and see a lot of these teams and cities and get a sense of who they are and how they operate. What has that been like, being able to travel America, through minor league baseball?
Mm-hmm. It truly has been a highlight. I thought, at Major League Baseball, you're going to a lot of the larger cities, obviously, around the country. But I tell you, it's just really, really been truly rewarding, the experiences of going to minor league cities with the rich history that a number of these cities have, the impact that they have, whether it be to the Civil War, whether it be to the slavery and civil rights movement here in the United States, as well as just having a piece of Americana that you just don't see in our larger major American cities. That's been very rewarding and very satisfying, and something I'm going to truly miss. But I didn't keep up as an aggressive schedule, I think, as you did, Ben. Those road trips, you was a road warrior, to say the least, over the last several years. But I made about 30 cities each season, depending on issues, concerns that I might have, new ballparks, you name it. And I'm truly going to miss that. But it surely has been one of the more enriching experiences in my baseball career, for that matter, in my entire life.
Yeah, and you talk about how you're going to miss that, because one of the reasons we're talking is you're now moving on to a totally new chapter, I guess, in a way, going back to an extent where you started in law enforcement, but something totally different. You ran a campaign, and so you are now the incoming sheriff of Milwaukee. Can you tell us a little bit about that? I mean, what inspired you to run and mount a campaign, and now what you're expecting going forward? Well,
I've always been someone that obviously has been about law enforcement and public safety since I was age 18, is when I started in the police department in Milwaukee. Served 25 years in the police department there and retired, took the position with baseball. I interact with more law enforcement on a day-to-day basis at baseball, both at the major and minor league level, than I ever did in the police department back in Milwaukee. But Ben, at the end of the day, I'm a young boy who was born in a housing project in the central city of Milwaukee, who, upon the death of his mother, was raised by a grandmother who came to Milwaukee from rural Alabama to raise 3 young boys, myself being the youngest. Someone who always thought about playing fair and social justice, and always wanted to do my very best. And when I saw that Milwaukee was in desperate need of leadership, particularly in the position of the sheriff, a lot of people encouraged me and supported me in the endeavor, and I decided that I was going to give up this wonderful life and career I had in baseball to go back and hopefully inspire some young boy or some young girl who comes from a as difficult or even more challenging circumstance or situation than I did, that they too can go on and have a great career doing whatever it is that you do, Ben, or what I've done, or what many others do, if they just believe in themselves. So that's my motivation. I want to partner with the law enforcement apparatus in Milwaukee County to make our community safe. We got a lot of issues that are not only local but national, whether it be the opioid addiction problem. We got problems with human trafficking and a host of other things. I hope to bring some of the experiences and partnerships that I've had at baseball, as well as my 40-year career in law enforcement and public safety, to the sheriff's office and try to make a difference.
Yeah, and with that job, I mean, I know one of your predecessors in that position, David Clark, had a lot of notoriety, and maybe that put more of a spotlight on this position. But for you, and what do you think your approach is going to be in terms of the most pressing issues, specifically on the day-to-day as sheriff?
Well, I think not only in Milwaukee County, but certainly that's going to be my number one priority, but all across America. We find ourselves, law enforcement and the community and the people that it serves, there's been issues that have broken the trust. My number one issue in my platform was to restore the honor and integrity back to the profession of law enforcement. It's some outstanding individuals, men and women serving in law enforcement, who leave their homes each day and put that badge over their heart and go out and serve this community, not knowing, serve their communities, not knowing whether they're going to return home at the end of the day. And in the course of their duties, particularly now in the light of, in the advent of cell phones and body cameras and everything like that, they're under more scrutiny than ever before. And as a result, they need a leader who is going to support and stand by them when they're right, and then certainly administer discipline with compassion and swiftly when they're wrong. But most importantly, somebody who is going to help restore the honor and trust of serving in law enforcement, partner with the business community, partner with the non-profit community, partner with the community-based organizations and those communities in the community, and to make our Milwaukee County a better and safer place. So that's my goal, that's my mission. I'm already ready to go in, roll up my sleeves on January 7th and begin that work. And I'm confident in what we're capable of doing. It's just I can't allow myself to get distracted like my predecessor. I've had a wonderful life. I've had a wonderful career in baseball, traveled all over the world, been to some of the best places. Now it's an opportunity for me to put my head down and do something that I'm prepared to do.
And so that next chapter is on the immediate horizon, but here we are closing this one out at the last day of the winter meetings. So to close, what are your thoughts right now as you say goodbye to this long and seems like very productive and enjoyable chapter in which you worked in professional baseball?
Well, again, I've been truly rewarded for, I think, a life well served. Ben, again, as a young boy, born in a housing project in Milwaukee and raised by his grandmother after the death of his mother, and to do all of the things and go all of the places and meet all of the people, you included, Ben, and now to have this opportunity to lead an organization that has been lacking in terms of its leadership and its ability to partner with the community, to me it's going to be the high honor of my professional life. But I can't say that the last 5 days have not been some of the more rewarding days of my life. Seeing friends and people that I've met along this journey, people that have touched me, from players, from managers, from writers, reporters, owners and everyone all throughout baseball just have made an impact on me. And those are the things that you take away from this. I'm not leaving the game. I'm just going and doing something that's tangentially still connected to the game. Obviously, there's a professional team in Milwaukee, as well as a lot of minor league clubs in the area there. And I'm still going to be calling on those friends and those partners and over the course of the next several months and years, and always look for that escape to go and sit somewhere in a crowd and enjoy a hot dog and a drink and enjoy a baseball game. It truly is America's pastime. I've been the benefactor of being one of the vanguards of ensuring the integrity of this sport for the last 19 years. And so, again, I take away nothing but good memories, and I'm looking forward to the next chapter of my life.
Yeah, well, we'll miss you here in the world of professional baseball, but again, congratulations on the next chapter and winning the election, and thanks for speaking with me here on the Show Before the Show podcast.
Well, thank you so much, Ben.
Thank you.
Final segment of this week's episode of the Show Before the Show podcast, and pulling back the curtain, we may hang out this weekend.
Hopefully we do.
It's kind of cool.
Yeah,
with friend of the show, Josh Jackson.
I know it'll be. I feel like this will be a very special episode, like this Saved by the Bell when they went on location. They just have
they were filming at the hotel for the summer.
Yeah, basically whatever those episodes were. It was just like, yeah, we're going to the East Coast because we just decided to film on a different lot today.
Yeah.
That's what it's going to be like this weekend with, you and I hang out occasionally, whether it's in
we do.
Denver, New York, or whatever. And I've seen Josh Jackson in his hometown of Venice, California. But to have all three of us in one place is going to be some feat. So,
which we had a plan to all be in the same place over the summer. And then Josh got sick and wasn't able to make the trip. So this is really just like the universe is realigning us, which is good.
Right.
I'm
yes.
very happy about that. But yeah, I'm going to be out there for a basketball road trip, and you're just going out after the winter meetings to California for the weekend, and we'll all be in the LA area. Josh lives there, and there's a chance that we could, hit up a diner.
Yes.
That's what they do in California.
That's what you do in California,
Yeah.
and that's just what
goes to
makes me very
diners.
excited. I was.
So stay tuned to the tweets because we'll probably run into each other. Sam Dykstra in Las Vegas taking us through the winter meetings. Thanks, buddy. Travel safe.
Yeah, no, and I'll see you this weekend, and we'll talk next week for what will be the final podcast of 2018.
Holy cow. That's ridiculous. He's Sam. I'm Tyler. We'll talk to you then.